Welcome to the Low Carb Athlete Podcast, where we focus on discussing topics to help you burn fat, optimize health, and improve performance in life and sports. Transform the whole you from the inside out with the holistic method. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Debbie Potts.
Hey friends, it's your host of the Low Carb Athlete Podcast, Debbie Potts, recording from her Hilltop new office. So excited I can have Wi-Fi here and talk to you and work from here all day so I can be in the great outdoors. Hey, today I have Dr. Amie on the show today. I was just on her podcast and she's back on mine, and I think we'll be on each other's shows again. She and I really had a good time talking. Her specialty is thyroid health and how to fix your thyroid. But really, we just kind of dive into what's related to thyroid imbalance. I know from my experience as a personal trainer and working with clients for 25 years, every other person seemed to be on a thyroid medication from their doctor and never really had an answer of why they're on it for their whole life and what are their symptoms. And I think it's not just to speed up your metabolism. We think low thyroid means my metabolism's slow, but it's also an indication of so many other things. And really, we want to look at the big picture. And as I say, we investigate what's actually going on under the hood by running different functional labs, looking at your blood chemistry tests. And really, as Dr. Amie and I talk about, starting with nutrition and exercise and sleep and stress and movement throughout the day. I call it the holistic method. Really, the labs are great and so essential to revealing what's going on under the hood. But even if we test and not guess, then get whatever supplements you need for a health rebuilding protocol, it does not work if you don't do the lifestyle and nutrition habits. So in FDN, we call it the Dress for Health Success Protocol. It means D's for diet, R for rest, exercise, stress reduction, and supplementation. So supplements are just one part of really figuring out how you can be the best version of yourself and live your best life, as I say, the second half of your life as I turn 50, coming up soon. And really, I know firsthand that living life as a race and not burning the candle at both ends, it really makes a difference to your health. And so if you're still working late at night, being on the computer or watching TV late at night, you're going to bed at midnight, 1 a.m, you're really missing out on that quality sleep. And sleep to me right now is what we need to focus on. Getting to bed early, starting with how we wake up and how we live life during the day impacts our sleep. And if you have bad sleep, you're grumpy, you make poor food choices, you make poor choices in all areas of life. You won't have the energy to exercise and be kind of a crappy session. So really focusing on sleep is essential. So how does this relate to thyroid health? Well, Amie and I are going to talk about thyroid and really how to improve it. And she's not a fan of, running all these labs at first either, is working on you and working on the stressors externally and work on nutrition and finding the right amount of everything for you. So I think we get wrapped up into too much social media and too many podcasts, and we forget about that you are unique. You are you, and you are not the same as me or anybody else. You're a unique self. And so we should not be wrapped up in having this one size fits all protocol for getting results. So what you eat, how you eat is so important, but intermittent fasting and fasting for 48, 72 hours, and for females looking at their hormone cycle and menstruation, and there's a lot to look at. But thyroid is a really big part, and it gets broken by some other stressors. So we're going to dive into that. We're going to also talk about how exercise is so essential for health too. But as I find exercising, as I keep talking to people about, Isn't your solution lose weight? And we'll dive into that conversation at the end of the podcast. I'll say personally, I've been doing more biking and my background's Ironman and 50K trail runs and did tons of marathons and half marathons. So I did endurance sports for most of my life and I enjoy it. I have fun being in the outdoors. And right now, it's almost beginning of summer and being in northern San Diego now, we can bike most of the year. I'm outside running. Trail running is so close to us, running on the beach and swimming in the outdoors. So I'm doing all this endurance stuff and I'm doing more and feel good. But am I losing weight? Not really. So the point is, don't think to exercise more if you're struggling with weight. Look at your thyroid, the whole thyroid panel, not just your TSH. We'll talk about that today. Getting a full thyroid panel, getting your whole assessment, looking at your GI, a stool test, looking at your organic acids, look at your Dutch. But for sure, when you go to your doctor, you can say, here's what I want to get tested and get the insurance to cover it because most labs we do aren't covered by insurance and your doctor doesn't do them. So you have to ask. And I think people try to out exercise a bad diet or out exercise poor lifestyle habits. And, going back to out supplementing the lifestyle changes, exercising isn't the solution for most of us. Some people do, of course, lose weight. But I think if you're doing that chronic cardio, that long distance stuff, and doing a lot of workouts a day, I think I'd look at your whole week schedule and look at your workouts that you're doing. Are you training by heart rate? Are you looking at heart rate variability score? Are you tracking your readiness from your aura or root band? Are you doing strength training? Are you doing 1 or 2 days of high intensity interval training? And even looking at that as a rest-based interval training that you're doing high heart rate and low heart rate. You're avoiding that black hole training. So there's a lot to exercise we can dive into. So if you want me to do an episode on that, I know Amie wanted to talk a little more about it too, so maybe I'll have her back on the show. So let's talk about all things thyroid and chronic stress with Dr. Amie. Who is Amie? Well, she's on a mission, like most of us, to help fix everybody, but she's on a mission to optimize thyroid patients around the world and give them back their life using scientific elements of nutrition and functional medicine. After her own experience of insufferable symptoms, gaining 20 plus pounds, sounds familiar. While prepping for a figure competition, she had many misdiagnoses, improper treatments, and she set out to help others now, as I am, to avoid going through what she went through. So she says the same thing, that she's, on a mission to help people figure out, people are struggling, they're frustrated, they can't get the answers they want. They're on this medical roller coaster. So Dr. Amie is on a mission to help those people that have thyroid issues. And she's educated. She's a certified functional medicine expert, and she's going to help people around the world get their thyroid and body back on track. And I think she is a fun person to talk to. She consults with people around the world. She starts with in-depth 90-minute consultations and addresses everything as I do, talking about labs and nutrition, supplementation. But really what I love is what she's doing is specializing in investigating the underlying factors of chronic disease and customizing health programs for thyroid issues, autoimmune conditions, hormone dysfunctions, digestion disorders, and brain problems. And she's focusing on optimizing the thyroid function and thus optimizing patients, the whole person, right? So she's working as each person as individual and not just looking at the lab values. So as I was saying, not just starting with labs, may work on how you are living your life each day and then look at the labs. So it's not the only thing we can do to help you. She examines all factors that are into thyroid dysfunction and thyroid symptoms and treats a person from top to bottom to give them their lives back. So we'll talk about what is included in a full thyroid panel, what she'd ask for, what are your optimal ranges, because I get people's labs and I put them in our FDN spreadsheet in our very narrow optimal ranges, not just the average ranges you'll get from traditional doctors. So check out Dr. Amie. She's got her own Thyroid Fix podcast, and she's starting to come out with a complete Thyroid Fix masterclass coming out soon. So enjoy the show and let me know your questions so we can have her back on the show and talk shop. Okay. It's a new thing. Hey everyone, it's Debbie, and I've got Dr. Amie on the show to talk about an important subject for most female, but men as well need to pay attention to thyroid health and all things thyroid, because I've seen a lot of men's thyroid panels down low as well. And so Dr. Amie is the thyroid fix expert. We're going to dive into how our thyroid is so vulnerable and how we can take care of it a little bit more to really help optimize our ability to burn fat, of course, health and longevity. So thanks for joining me today.
Ooh, happy to be here. I've listened to your podcast for so long, so I'm happy to be a guest on it.
Oh, good. Well, I think, well, everyone has that passion and purpose as we talked before. And I think it's great to just kick off the show that way. It's like, why do you just specialize in thyroid health? What led you down this path?
Yeah. So mine is, the pain to purpose story. It's if we back up 20 some years ago, and I was competing in fitness and figure competitions. I did fitness modeling, but I was not born teeny tiny. I was born into a family with obesity and type 2 diabetes. So I would always, and I'm short, so I would always have to really work my butt off to get ready for a show, to get ready for a photo shoot. And, I would do it. It would be strict. It would be rigorous, but I would do it every single time. Get ready. I knew it would work for my body. And there was this one time, it could have been maybe the 10th or 15th time. And by then I knew how my body was supposed to respond, right? And I was gaining weight instead of losing. And biologically, Debbie, you even know this. Listen, if you're going to the gym twice a day and you're eating chicken and broccoli and asparagus and fish, and you should be losing weight and definitely not gaining weight. So I was gaining weight. By the time I put on 20 pounds, I even stopped weighing myself. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I went to 6 different doctors. All of them told me I was normal, air quotes, normal. You're fine. Eat less, exercise more. You're good. And I would bring in what I was eating and how much I was exercising. Sometimes it was 3 times a day. And they just kept saying, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. So 6 misdiagnoses. The 7th one finally diagnosed me and told me I had hypothyroidism. I had a goiter. So she touched my throat for the first time. That was the first doctor to actually touch my throat and say, swallow. And she goes, oh yeah, okay, there's a goiter there. You have hypothyroidism. Here's some T4. Here's some Synthroid. Here's some Levo. And sent me on my way. And just like most people, when they get the diagnosis after being frustrated for so long, you're happy because there's an answer. Here's a pill I can take. Yay, this is going to be the answer to all of my woes. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't. I didn't lose a pound. I never felt better. My energy didn't come back. My hair kept falling out. So I did some research on my own, like we all kind of start to do. We play on Dr. Google. And this is actually before Dr. Google. I don't even know how I found this research. I'm pretty sure I read Stop the Thyroid Madness or, a couple different books. And I went back to my doctor and I said, well, there's more than one medication. Can we try that? And she's like, nope, I don't do that. And I said, well, I'm going to find someone who does. So I found functional medicine. My functional medicine practitioner that saved my life is now my mentor. He basically led me into what I'm doing now because I had the feeling back then, listen, if I'm frustrated, other people are frustrated too. Yeah. If I feel like garbage, you feel like garbage and you shouldn't have to feel like garbage. So that's what brought me into the functional medicine realm and treating thyroid conditions and really helping people either get diagnosed or get on the right treatment and protocol and just get better, get their lives back. Because when you have hypothyroidism, even if you don't know if you have it or not, if you're walking around not treated properly, you feel like death. You are crying in your car like I did. You are just, it takes over your life. It just takes over everything. So that's how I landed here.
And I think that's so many of those symptoms of low thyroid are similar to adrenal, air quotes, again, exhaustion, because it's the HP axis. It could be the HP thyroid, and it all gets imbalanced. So that's why, as FDN practitioners, we don't just do one lab. We look at, 3 to 5 labs and look at the whole picture, because all that could be thyroid or it could be adrenal. You just don't know where, but it's all overlaps. So chronic
Right.
fatigue, that weight gain, if it's hormones or is it my, thyroid, which communication system's broken and what's going on. But it is kind of that whole mystery in why we need to investigate so many things and pick up those clues. So you kind of are now doing that for other people, helping them avoid going through what you went through.
Definitely. And with the hormones too, like you said, they play a role. I mean, they are part of the endocrine system. They're part of the HP axis, but we have to treat the thyroid first. We have to figure out if it's working at an optimal level, not just normal, but optimal. We have to address that first. And at the same time, I address hormones. So it's not an either or. I know some practitioners just go, okay, well, we're going to treat the thyroid first, but we're not going to treat your low hormones because those will all raise. Well, yeah, they will. But I'm sorry, if you're a man walking around with testosterone at 200, we can fix your thyroid all day long and it's not going to magically go to 600 in a month. I want to get you feeling better right away. So we have to do things to treat kind of both. And yes, start with the thyroid. It's the master gland, but we also have to get you feeling better by balancing out your sex hormones too.
Yeah. So you're doing a little bit of everything. So is that kind of the steps you take to get someone started on their fixing their thyroid issues is, 1, 2, 3. Do you have a kind of a sequence to how to optimize the thyroid health?
Yeah, it really is kind of a journey. So obviously the first thing, and I know you agree with this, is test, don't guess. Test, don't guess.
Yep.
So, and get the full, thorough panel. And we can go into that if you'd like, but full thorough panel of thyroid, Hashimoto's. Let's see all of your hormones. Let's remember that women have more than estrogen, men have more than testosterone. So we have to test all of the hormones. Yeah, let's definitely test your insulin and A1C and cortisol. So we have to look at all the testing first and then piece that puzzle together and start on a proper treatment plan. Sometimes we treat with supplements. Sometimes we treat with medication. Sometimes, all of the time it's diet and lifestyle changes because that all goes together. So something like Hashimoto's, yeah, medication plays a role, but so does inflammation. So does underlying infection. If you're walking around with high insulin. So we have to address the whole picture and kind of step by step someone along their own journey. Detoxification plays a role that comes into play. Obviously balancing out, the meditation and mindset piece comes into play. So it's really a comprehensive approach that I take. It's not just, let's just look at your gut. Let's just look at your liver. Let's just look at inflammation. Let's just those are all factors that contribute to hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's, dysregulated hormones. We have to look at it all together. It sounds overwhelming, but it's really not when you lay it out for someone.
Yeah. How do you find what works with people, with your clients, that doesn't overwhelm them? Because I find that all the time. It's like, all right, we got all this information. They're like, okay, I can't change what I'm eating. I try to, let's do 4-day rotation diet. Oh no, that's too much stress. Let's get to bed not at 1 a.m. in the morning. Oh, that's too much stress. What's your strategy coaching people to help just base hits creates a home run, is the Dr. Tom O'Brien quote I always like to use.
Oh, I like that quote.
It's in all of his books. I was like, that's really good.
I like that. Yeah. Basically it's hand holding and baby steps. So as you know, some people are, at the beginning, they're eating McDonald's and they don't know any better. And they got boxes of pasta and everything in their pantry. And so we are literally at step 1. So we have to baby step that. We can't do too many changes at once. And then other people might be a little bit more advanced. They might have nutrition education. I've even had FDNs that are like, listen, I can't even treat myself. This is crazy, because we can't think for ourselves. So it really is kind of meeting people where they are in their journey and then holding their hand throughout. So that's what's always made me more unique, I feel. And I know, meeting people like you and in this space, I see it more and more, but giving patients access to me. So when they have that access to answer or ask questions and get answers, they don't feel like they're floundering. Because think in the conventional medicine system, you have an appointment, you got 5 minutes, you're out, and then you get to your car and you go, oh man, there are 5 other things I wanted to ask them. Well, nope. Now you got to wait 2 months. So you get back in with your doctor, you got to send a message through the portal, and then it's answered by a nurse who never even talked to the doctor. Yeah. So I think that support along the way where we can just Okay, now it's time to chip away at the exercise piece.
Yeah.
Now it's time to go through that Bath and Body Works lotion that you got.
Oh my gosh.
And toss
I
that
have
out.
to add in, I walked into that store or I walked by it. I never even went in it. And I like, oh my God, I cannot breathe. I was like, how can people not tell it's toxic? Like another day I went in a Roadrunner Sport. I had to walk out, headache right away. Like, don't people sense these toxins? But I think they're so used to how our
Yes.
environmental toxins, all the products we use on our body in our household,
Yep.
they just get used to it.
Yep, they get used to it. I mean, think about people who are eating gluten and then you take away their gluten and then they get exposed to it and they're like, Debbie, I am bent over in pain and I can't stand myself right now.
So true.
Yeah.
So I know I want to get into a little bit before I get too deep into the lifestyle changes and over-exercising and too little exercise, but the thyroid test itself, like a full thyroid panel, often people just get the TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. And then they're like, well, you got low thyroid, high thyroid. But what is a full thyroid panel and why do we need to get it? Well, we already said that, but like the key parts.
You nailed it. I mean, most of the time, even if you go into your doctor and say, can I have a full thyroid panel, you're going to get TSH and you might get free T4. But we have to remember TSH is thyroid stimulating hormone. It's released by the pituitary. It's not a thyroid hormone. So when TSH is screaming, I mean, when it's elevated and we're like, oh my gosh, look at this, it's a 15. Yeah, guess what? You have hypothyroidism. But what if TSH is in that standard, conventional, normal, air quotes, range? But functional medicine says, hey, if a TSH is above a 2, you could still have an issue. Even if a TSH is below a 2, you could still have an issue. So then we go into the next set of labs. So then we go into free T4, and T4 is the inactive thyroid hormone. Free T3, which is the active thyroid hormone, one of the most important markers, because you have receptor sites on your cells for T3, not for T4. And then we want to look at reverse T3, which is the anti-thyroid hormone. And then we want to look at your antibodies because we want to test to see if you have Hashimoto's or not. So TPO and TGA antibodies. Those are the most important tests to get. We don't care about the total T3. We don't care about the total T4. T3 uptake is like, hey, bonus, but we absolutely need those core tests in order to get that full picture of your thyroid health.
Good. Yeah. And then some signs or reasons for total T3 to be low. Why would that be? Because I think that's a big thing. People don't ever look at the why. Like, this is high, this is low. What is this an indication of? And what would we do with that information?
Yeah, so the total and free T3, free being more important because that's what is available for your cells to pick up. If either of them are low, though, I mean, even if a patient gets a total T3 and it's low, I'm like, that's not good either. So what would cause that to go low? Number one would be conversion issues. And that's the biggest thing that I see. So when we're talking about your inactive form of T4, converting over to the active form of T3 to run the show, to give you metabolism, to grow your hair, to give you energy, to strengthen your nails, to improve your mood, to help you not be constipated. That's T3. That's not T4. T4 is storage. Just think, I mean, it's literally in storage. It's like gas that's at the gas station, but you got to put it into your car and start the car and get the engine to, but like it's just storage. It's just sitting there waiting to be used, waiting to be converted. So T4 has to convert to T3 in order to be taken up by the cell. Anemia, high insulin, low magnesium, low selenium, low iodine, stress, high cortisol, gut issues, inflammation, liver detoxification problems, high stress, all of that can interfere with conversion. So it really is a hard job for T4 to convert to T3. It's not easy. There's a lot of things that can get in the way.
But that's why I think it's what we all are working on as practitioners, that it's not just take this thyroid pill and you're going to get better. And that's why the difference of working with practitioners that are doing more of the holistic lifestyle changes is so essential to you really getting results. Because how many people, I know being a personal trainer for so many years, all my female clients seem to be in this thyroid medication for their whole life. And I'm like, okay, why are you on it? Why is your thyroid low? Instead of just taking a pill, like a Band-Aid on something, really
Mhm.
figure out what's off balance causing it to be low. And I think majority of them probably just had their one lab test done on the thyroid, but
Well,
seems like
that's
it's given
possible
out
too.
as candy from their doctors.
Well, T4 levosynthroid is the number 2 prescribed medication in America. It used to be number 1, but it's either statins or antidepressants took the number 1 spot.
Yeah.
So now T4 is the number 2 prescribed medication. And it's given out like candy. And half the time they're not looking at, what is causing the thyroid to shut down? Is it because maybe you overexercised and over dieted? Is it because you're on a super low calorie diet? Is it because you had radiation? Maybe you took a medication that tanked your thyroid, like some medications do. Or maybe you have Hashimoto's and it's an immune system problem. So I'm not anti-medication. I believe in the use of proper medication, maybe NDT, maybe we add in a little bit of T3 just to make you better. But we do still have to look at the source. We still have to look at what is causing the Hashimoto's, because it's autoimmune. Your immune system is attacking your thyroid. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Yeah.
What is that underlying root cause?
It's weird. Yesterday, I went to this longest dentist ever. It was a holistic dentist. First time, so I was there 2.5 hours. At least you can watch a movie, but sitting there so long. But they did like these amazing new X-rays, and you could see how gross your teeth look or not. But point is, all the cracks, I had no idea because I clenched my teeth at night. I had no idea, but the X-rays are so advanced nowadays, I could see. So point is, why this relates is that they could see cracks. So everything, all these toxins and infection in there could be, every time I chew, will go into my body. So it's just, if that's related to another source of internal stressors, if you don't know you have these little cracks in your teeth, how it could be the stressor from anywhere causing that internal chronic stress in your gut, causing the imbalance, the antibodies or whatever it might lead to. But it's just crazy how you have to look at the big picture.
Yeah. And that's a great analogy though, too. You can use that because you didn't know you had cracks in your teeth until you got the x-ray, right? Until somebody in the holistic field looked deeper and said, guess what? Here's what's been going on. And you go, I don't know. They weren't visible. It's the same thing as inflammation. It's the same thing as a co-infection like Epstein-Barr virus or Lyme. It's gut issues. It's H. pylori. It's Candida. You're not going to know. You're not going to have these blazing signs of like, oh my gosh, I have, Epstein-Barr virus, unless you're on the couch and you can't get up. I mean, that extreme fatigue. But your body isn't going to be saying like, hey, Debbie, guess what? Here's what's going on with you. You have to look deeper. You have to look for those cracks.
Yeah, cracks in all areas. Your teeth and your gut wall lining. So, okay, I really want to go into what everyone probably really cares about is their eating, exercising too much or too little, eating too low carb, because that's always a scare for women, and fasting too much, and all these different type of stressors, how they impact us athletes in general, but then the female athlete or not, doesn't matter. But I think fasting, carbs, keto, that section, and then the athlete just always wanting to do more, to people trying to lose weight, exercise more. So which one do you want to start with? They all kind of overlap.
Well, yeah, I get it. Well, so here's the thing. Athlete, non-athlete. Like I completely get the athlete piece. I love it. I love the driven type A individuals. I mean, those are my people. But you don't have to be a hardcore. I mean, you talk about this on your podcast all the time. You don't have to be a hardcore athlete doing like triathlons in order to be an athlete. If you're getting to the gym, if you're pushing yourself, if you're doing your best, guess what? You're an athlete. So for all my people taking care of themselves, there is a fallacy out there. And I understand where it's coming from, but we really have to clear the air. Too many people poo-poo low carb or keto diets for people with hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's. And then, I mean, really just being a woman, you get poo-pooed for doing a low carb or keto diet. There is nothing wrong with that if you do it correctly. So if a typical keto diet, like when we look at the medical literature, you go on PubMed, you do a search. Yes, if you are 20 carbs or under, day after day, month after month, year after year, no break, it can reduce your T3, that active thyroid hormone. So it can kind of sort of lower your metabolism. But you're looking at the extreme, right? You're looking at somebody who actually sticks to 20 grams of carbs or under day after day, year after year. Come on, we're all human. Yeah. So I like taking my well, first of all, we have to check for insulin resistance. 9 times out of 10, guess what? If you have Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism, you have insulin resistance, meaning you shouldn't be eating high carbs anyways. So doing keto or low carb the right way will be beneficial to your insulin. And then I believe in just doing it through the week. So I actually just created a course that I'm going to be launching soon. I'll let you know when. Yeah. Maybe by the time this podcast is out, it'll be out, called Keto Week. So it's literally taking people through doing low carb diet through the week, coming out on the weekend. And I go into the myths debunked and how it relates to how to do this without tanking your thyroid and how it relates to hypothyroidism and why it's good for it, but it's doing it the right way. I mean, you can be low carb at 50 grams or less. That's still low carb. You don't have to be extreme low carb, extreme low calories. We don't even recommend it. Mm-hmm. So I think if you do it the right way and you come out of ketosis the right way on the weekends, then you're going to be fine. That's not a stressor on the body whatsoever. In fact, your body actually likes it. Now, in terms of your question about fasting, I always say do it naturally, natural fasting. So meaning if you wake up in the morning and you're not hungry, don't force yourself to eat because you have a nutrition plan and there's breakfast on there and you go, okay, well, I got to get my food in. This is your body giving you a signal. So you don't want to force yourself to eat, but you also don't want to force yourself to fast. So also for my type A's out there who are listening to this, because I know you are, when you have it in your mind that today is the day I'm going to fast, today is the day I'm going to do an OMAD, meaning 1 meal a day, and you don't break from that no matter what, that is a stressor on your body. If you wake up at 7 a.m. and you're hungry, it's not a day to fast. That is your body giving you a signal. And if you're a woman going through cycles, there's times in your cycles where it's not a good time to fast. And we don't have to get into that, but just listen to your body.
Yeah. It's so funny. So the other day I was the past few weeks, we've had this challenge I've done with Ben Greenfield's, our coaching program. We did a 6-week transformation challenge and we write people's macros out. And I'm so not a number person because I dieted high school or first 2 years of college, counted calories. I mean, I did all that, wrote my food down every day for years, and I can't do it at all ever again. And so writing people's calorie range per day and then writing their estimated macros is really a struggle for me because I'm like, can't you just listen to your body? But most people need a baseline to get started. But what happens is I found that a lot of people that are the type A driven perfectionists want to nail those numbers down. So they're not even listening to, oh, am I hungry? Do I need to eat? They're going, oh, I have 50 more grams of carbs I need to eat. So I'm going to go to bed now, but I do need to get that 100% number sealed. I got to eat something, but I'm not hungry, but they'll eat just because they have to get those certain numbers. Like, okay, that's not what we're looking for. I want you to go use that for guidelines, and then let's do intuitive eating. How do you feel? And are you hungry? Okay, then have, something. Have a cup of bone broth with some MCT oil in it and some spices. So, but it's interesting to me to work more with a variety of people, that how many people are the type A driven, that they are perfectionists and have to get 100% check off that box of everything and stop listening to what they feel.
Yeah. And I get it. I used to write down everything too, and then look it up and how many protein, how many carbs, how many fats, how many calories.
But it's not good in the beginning though, right? I mean, how do you teach people to be fat adapted to then you can add in, the cyclical keto going on off, like you're saying, and do you kind of have a system for people to get?
I just give them a personalized plan. So it's literally like, let's in the beginning, just stick to this plan until you get your feet wet. even if you're eating the same thing every day, I don't care. Just stick with this and trust me and don't write it down. And, and your body will start responding. And then we can kind of branch out into you using different recipes that fall into gluten-free and lower carb, paleo, keto, those types of things. And then we start incorporating those in. So again, it's the baby step. It's meeting people where they are, because some people have tried. I mean, I know you get people too. Well, listen, Debbie, I already did keto and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Well, what were you doing? Bacon and pork rinds, or, were you doing avocados and some coconut oil? So there's a big difference.
Yeah. So I think it is, looking at people's genetics and how much saturated fat they can tolerate, and to make it individualized, as there isn't one size fits all. But how does all that impact thyroid? Like, someone's struggling to lose weight, they're still doing, keto. I'm doing 50 grams of carbs a day. I'm exercising every day, maybe twice, but I'm not losing weight. What's going on?
So then we have to look at, like, it's kind of similar to what I went through, right? So when we know they're doing the right thing for their body, they might even be like you said, like doing low carb, maybe throwing in a really low carb day and then coming out and doing some high carbs with, good food like sweet potatoes, maybe adding in a fruit that's in season, more veggies, whatever that might be. And they get those carbs up again and their protein is good. When we look at the whole picture and we go, there's nothing with their lifestyle that's wrong. You're doing everything correctly. You're not over exercising. You're not killing yourself. You're getting in some deep breathing. You're tossing in a yoga session once a week. You're getting good sleep. So now what is going on with your body? And that's when we start testing. Is the thyroid not optimized? Because that's the driver of metabolism. Then we drop down, males and females, testosterone. That is so important. And I talk about it all the time. Testosterone is vital, and optimal testosterone levels are vital to be able to burn fat, to be able to put on lean muscle, which will give you a higher metabolic rate. Testosterone is key. And then you don't want to be estrogen dominant either. And guys, you can be estrogen dominant too. I've seen it over and over and over again, especially with the society that we live in with toxins that raise your estrogen. Beer, food, plastic, all that raises estrogen levels. So we have to look at that too. And we have to look at insulin, hemoglobin A1C, glucose, because that gives us a picture of your blood sugar signaling. If you're insulin resistant, and I'm sorry, you can have glucose readings of 80, but if your insulin is an 18, you're insulin resistant. You have to do low carb. We have to control it. Maybe we use some berberine. Maybe we, do something like that. Use some exogenous ketones to push you into a fat burning state. But we have to look at what are those metabolic components in your labs, because if you're doing everything right here and everything is well with exercise, nutrition, and lifestyle and sleep, then we have to look deeper. And then we can get into, gut health, do a GI map down here, and then just keep digging until we find the answer. There's an answer there. There's always an answer. I mean, think about it. We're human, right? There's not a body that was made that says, you know what, this particular individual, they're just going to gain weight and there's no really reason why. No, we're not. No, that doesn't happen. So there has to be a reason. You just have to keep peeling those layers to find it.
Yeah, it is interesting how so many men have high estrogens and have, their thyroid off balance. And I think it's not looked at for what's going on in their whole picture. It seems like thyroid is just about females. It's not men. Men don't have a thyroid.
Yeah, I know. The poor guys. I know. It is a female disease, like an 80-20, like 80% females, 20% guys. But guys, you still get affected. And I got to tell you, if your thyroid's off, it is going to tank your testosterone. So low T in men, in addition to it being not good at all for your heart health, puts you at a high risk of cardiovascular disease, but it also drops your libido, decreases your erections. You're going to get fat. You're not going to feel like going to the gym. You're going to lose muscle mass. You're going to be fatigued. You're going to feel more emotional. It's not a good scenario whatsoever. And it's not looked at enough either in men.
So you're saying it has to do with your cholesterol too? You said thyroid and your blood chemistry for your heart disease?
Well, yeah. Low thyroid will cause cholesterol to go up. So a lot of times when the thyroid is off, we'll see high insulin resistance, pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes, as well as high cholesterol. So people will get put on a statin when they don't need to be put on a statin.
Yeah.
They just need to fix their thyroid. Now, also connected to the overall cardiovascular health, proper testosterone levels. So if we don't have optimal testosterone in a male specifically, if a guy's walking around at, let's say, 285, 300, still in the normal air quote range, because testosterone range is huge and it shouldn't be. And if you're walking around at 285, 300, you're going to have symptoms, but you're also going to be more at risk for cardiovascular disease. So we might see high blood pressure. We might see your cholesterol lab values start to go. HDL will tank. LDL and triglycerides will rise. And then your doctor will come in anyways and say, hey, bud, you got to go on a statin. That's not the problem. Test the man's thyroid, see if his testosterone is in the toilet, treat both of those, and then you won't need a statin. And guess what? He's going to feel a lot better too, because you put someone on a statin and that's just going to make your legs heavy, give you, fatigue and muscle pain and all the other random side effects that come with statins, as opposed to optimizing the thyroid, treating testosterone. Now he feels like a man again. He's got energy. He has his life back. He's like, yes, this is it. And now he's happy, as opposed to even more sick over here with the statin Band-Aid.
So it's you're saying it's more related to the thyroid, not to the blood lipid panel being out of whack. It's probably starting from poor thyroid function itself.
Right.
Well, how much go ahead.
It's very rare that someone needs to be on a statin. Very, very rare. I'm going to quote Mark Hyman here. And he said that the number one, statins only work on LDL. Number two, the only time that he uses statins in his clinic is post heart attack. So if you have already had a heart attack and you fall into that high risk category, okay, yeah, statin. But pre-heart attack, even if you have a genetic predisposition to high cholesterol, chances are that genetic predisposition was your dad and your grandpa and your mom didn't have their thyroids tested, never had their hormones tested, never had their insulin tested, never had their A1C tested. And if you fixed all that, they wouldn't have needed a statin. So it's really not genetic. It's just the fact that they were part of the conventional medicine system that didn't look for the root cause anyways.
Interesting. And going back to testosterone, because that's always top for athletes and males, is that how much does sleep impact that? If people are going to bed at midnight, burn the candle at both ends, maybe they fall asleep at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
What about the growth hormone testosterone levels and how that's impacted by sleep?
Sleep is so important. It's so important. So we see a natural decrease in testosterone and increase in estrogen just on sleep deprivation alone. So sleep deprivation studies are like scary. I think that's why we don't talk about them enough. And, because they even freak me out. It's like one night of missed sleep jacks your insulin and blood sugar up and you're more prone to weight gain. I'm like, no, I only slept 5 hours last night. But no, I mean, chronic lack of sleep raises your cortisol, messes up your thyroid signaling, will increase your insulin, will decrease your testosterone, will raise your estrogen. I mean, it's a cascade. And I think that's one of those things that's so simple. It's so simple. Just go to bed. And our best times for sleep is between 10:30 and 2:30, between 10 and 2 or 10:30 and 2:30, something like that. But I even tell people, listen, I get it. If you can't go to bed at 10, go at 11, at least get those smushed up recovery hours, at least a few of them in that time frame, so that you're not walking around with low testosterone and high insulin and getting fatter. And then the fat holds estrogen. I mean, it's just a cascade. Just go to bed earlier.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah.
Well, you're saying though, not just sleep till 2:30 a.m., but that's your window when your body. You're supposed to sleep ideally, maybe 10 to 6 a.m. or 11 to 7, somewhere in there. But you want to get that, because you don't know when the growth hormone is going to be released. It's like that special surprise. It sounds like I was read it that way, that sometime between 10 and 2 a.m., you're going to have that release of growth hormone testosterone.
Yeah.
And then I've always loved the Chinese medicine liver time. If you look at the Chinese but Chinese clock, and now every hour is like, this is gallbladder, liver time. And just every hour of the day is what your clock of your body clock's doing, healing, rebuilding. But it is just, I did a podcast last week on sleep, and it's just fascinating how many people still don't prioritize their sleep when all this recovery repair, which is why I think the Oura Ring is so beneficial to people, or the Whoop Band, to really see what's going on. That, oh, okay, I got like 10% of deep sleep last night. Why is that? And then you know why you don't feel good, or why your legs are tired and you didn't recover from a workout, or you're gaining weight.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I love that. I love that. I love feedback. I love biofeedback, anything.
Yeah. So I want to also touch on anything like for women as they reach perimenopause, menopausal, anything to do with thyroid, because there's that whole thing of, okay, we're going to hit menopause, we're going to get fat, and we're going to feel like crap, and how to improve that transformation into peri to menopause to postmenopause for
Right.
women.
Right. So that's a famous quote of doctors. You're just getting older.
Yeah. I hate that.
You know,
It's like, blame the aging process. Yeah.
Blame
No,
the age.
thanks.
You're just getting older. Yeah. No. I am a staunch proponent of not accepting that. Yeah. I always tell people, listen, you don't have to raise the white flag. Okay, I'm going into menopause. I guess I'll just give up on being happy and fit and feeling human again. No, you don't have to give that up. There's nothing that says menopause equals death. So as we go into, perimenopause, puberty, perimenopause, pregnancy, the 3 Ps, those are big times where Hashimoto's can turn on. So that autoimmune switch, that trigger can flip on, because those are stressful times. We think of pregnancy as something natural that women do. Yeah, I get it, but it's still a stress on the body. And changing hormones in perimenopause is also a stress on the body. So whenever there's a stressor, that can turn on that switch of Hashimoto. So a lot of times the weight gain that women experience in perimenopause, menopause can tie back to thyroid or Hashimoto's, because that switch got flipped. And we have to look at that. We have to look to see, is it an autoimmune situation? And then remember, with the thyroid being the master, that's going to affect the sex hormones. So now we do see a natural drop in estrogen as we go into menopause, but we see more of a drop in estrogen and a plummet in progesterone and a plummet in testosterone. And then the poor woman's walking around with no hormones whatsoever. So we have to look at thyroid, treat that if necessary, and then look at the other hormones. There are so many ways that we can balance hormones. We can do them naturally. We can do them with bioidenticals. We can do them supplementally, whatever the woman is comfortable with and whatever the level they're at. So if someone is, and by the way, you can be estrogen dominant going into menopause. So if a woman is estrogen dominant and her progesterone's in the toilet and she has no testosterone, we can fix that. First of all, we use something like calcium D-glucarate. Make sure the liver is functioning. Check the ALT, AST, alkaline phos. Make sure your liver is processing your hormones and methylating properly. Make sure your detoxification pathways are open. Use something like a bioidentical progesterone to raise that up. I mean, progesterone is the new antidepressant. So you use progesterone, guess what? You're happy. Probably don't need that Lexapro. And then testosterone. We can use testosterone in any and every age. I don't care. If you're not optimal, we can use supplementally. We can raise testosterone. If a woman's like, yeah, I'm not really down with the test creams and injections and all that. Or we can go with compounded bioidentical testosterone. We can do injectable. Some women do better on that. It's all individualized, but there are things that we can do. So we start with the thyroid, remember, master gland, thyroid. And then we go down into the hormones that are changing and fluctuating as we go into perimenopause and menopause. Balance those out. It doesn't have to be this horrendous trip through menopause. You don't have to gain weight. And of course, at the same time, you're not eating at McDonald's and laying on your couch. You're doing the lifestyle things that we're talking about. You're getting your sleep, you're de-stressing, you're doing all those little things that really should be easy breezy once you get in the groove. I mean, it becomes a lifestyle change for you, and then allow someone that's experienced to kind of fix these things over here, the thyroid and the hormones and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's great. What labs do you like to use? How do you test people's thyroid, and how do they go about working with you?
Yeah. I like just basic thyroid panel serum. I'm kind of in that camp of, I don't want you to spend money if you don't have to.
Yeah.
So if we can get your labs ordered and covered by insurance, great, because that's more money in your pocket. I can go buy serum hormones. If you're a menstruating woman, we like to test your hormones days 19 to 22. I don't mind saliva. I like ZRT for cortisol. I'm okay with it for hormones. I don't love it, but I'm okay with it. I'm going to probably piss a lot of people off and say I don't like Everlywell, and I'm okay with a Dutch test, but I'm not going to have you drop $400 on a Dutch test unless we absolutely have to. So that may be completely against what you go with, completely against what people listening. They're like, what? The Dutch test is everything. Yeah, but not everybody has $400 to spend on a test.
Yeah.
So if I have to use blood, I will use blood and try to time it. And maybe we test it a couple different times, but guess what? It's $400 in the person's pocket. I think there's a time and place for Dutch. If someone's not methylating, if they're all kinds of messed up and we can't figure out what the heck is going on, yeah, then we do something like a GI map. That's expensive. The Dutch test, that's expensive. Yeah. So I save the functional testing for necessary people, for the necessary patients that like everything up here in the serum didn't tell us.
Mm-hmm. Well, I always find that, there's people that if they can afford the testing, that's great, but they don't realize that's just one little part of the protocol. You have to work on the nutrition and the exercise and the sleep hygiene routine and the stress reduction, because I keep telling my clients that this isn't going to work over here just doing the protocol based on your lab testing and what supplements we find that your body needs if you're still stressed out all day, burning the candle at both ends. I've done it myself for 8 years, never really helped. It did, and then you do the one step forward, 2 steps back, but you're never really getting over that hurdle and moving on to the next step of your recovery and repair. It's not just taking that pill again to fix it.
Right. And then you have the number people too, that they're so fixated on getting that number. It's like the macro counting, but with blood work. Like, I have to get my number to this level. And then I go, but how do you feel? Mm-hmm. Well, I feel great. This isn't optimal yet. I go, but it doesn't matter because you just told me you feel great. So you're not constipated. You got energy. You got great muscle tone. You're 60. You're building muscle. You're lean. You got beautiful hair. Your skin looks great. Why are we trying to achieve a number when you're doing okay? So you have those people too that are fixated on numbers. And it's like, listen, the numbers, we want you optimal. When we look at numbers and you're saying, I feel like garbage, we go, okay, these numbers tell us why you feel like garbage. But it shouldn't be like the be all end all goal to get to a specific number. The numbers just guide us and they give us answers, and they can give us a roundabout target. Like a guy, I don't want you walking around with a test of 200. It's not cool. It's not cool for any of us. So yeah, we have that target goal of like whatever, 600, 700, 800, depending on your age. But if you're feeling good at 600, we're going to just keep chugging away here. And we're not going to pump more testosterone into you to reach 800 because you feel good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that goes with one other area to cover is the exercise part. And so many people, women and men, and I know I do this. I want to write a blog on this when I get the time to do it. It's like endurance exercise will not help you lose weight. It's like that is not, if you're training for a triathlon, a marathon, half marathon, whatever, doing more cardio is not the solution. It will contribute to adding another stressor on your body and fill up that beaker of stress. Because I just hear that so often from athletes. And I was just saying that, like, I'm not losing any weight. We started biking more because the weather is better and the days are getting longer, so we can go for a 2-hour bike ride instead of an hour bike ride. Or going for a run and I'm doing all this cardio, but I trained for many Ironmans and didn't lose any weight.
Right.
So don't use exercise as a way to lose weight. What can you do is lifting weights, doing your
Yes.
strength training. And I think that part, especially for our listeners, are probably more the endurance athlete part, that less is more in the cardio and more strength. But it's that Goldilocks effect for everything. Hit training once a week or twice a week, not back-to-back days or multiple days. It's just that mixture we talked about before on your show, is that yoga and doing Pilates core work and then doing some HIIT training, kettlebell set. I think people forget that part of really helping their thyroid and overall hormone balance is that balance of exercise and less is more, and cardio and more strength, heavy lifting, as I'm in my little gym here.
Yeah. And listen, I get it.
Ball.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, my medicine ball, my slam ball, my kettlebells are all in front of me. So yeah, what do you think of that? Have you found that a case for working with your clients?
Yes. And I'm going to blast this episode to all of my patients because they need to hear it from someone other than me too, because you just said it. I hate cardio. And listen, I get it. Okay. I was there. I was in that space of do more cardio twice a day, cardio 3 times a day, because that's what's going to supposedly burn fat. And that's what was ingrained into us in the 90s and early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really look at what cardio does, it is not increasing your lean muscle mass. It is not making you more metabolically active. It is spiking your cortisol and thus your insulin and blood glucose, which can put you into a fat storage mode. Increased insulin, increased cortisol can mess up your T4 to T3 conversion. So it really is a big, big stressor on the body. And I always say to people, use this mental comparison to kind of get it to click, because you have to get out of your frustration mode of, I got to do more because the weight's not coming off. No, there's something metabolically going on that we have to look at. But if you really think about a marathon runner versus a sprinter, picture an Olympic sprinter, picture a guy or a woman, they are muscular. They got cap shoulders. They got bam thighs. They're cut. They could walk onto a bodybuilding stage probably in 3 days from their race and win. If you look at a marathon runner, I wouldn't pay to look like 90% of the marathon runners. They're skinny fat because no one has, like you said, no one has ever lost weight training for a marathon or an Ironman. Most of my women gain weight if they're doing that because their body just goes cortisol crazy and just hold on to water and fat. But if you look at the typical, I know you're probably like, well, the guy down the street is ripped and he does, the Boston Marathon. I get it. There are those few, exemptions. Ben Greenfield, my God, he's a beast. But you have to look at the overall average. Just stand on the sidelines of the Pittsburgh Marathon and then just check it out. And most of the people there are your average Joes, and they're skinny fat or they're overweight. Now go to a track meet and look at the dude who does hurdles and sprints. Looks really good. Fast, high intensity, boom, and a burst and done. The guy doing the hurdles ain't running 5 miles a day to get in shape, or 10 miles or 20 miles.
I know. And I know that. And it's hard because I love to be, why we moved here. I'm, outside. I want to go outside for a run and bike ride. But at least now I can do strength workout outside. I've got stairs and I can do some sprint stairs, beach workouts. I think you have to do it if you love to bike ride as I do, or hike, or you love to go for a long run. Yeah. I actually do find it more beneficial for my body to add a walk break in my runs. And because I was like, it makes no sense. Whoever ran nonstop, they would run and then walk. So I try to do that more because I feel like I'm doing more damage if I do a long run and don't stop at all. Like, that's not good for my body. It's better just to do that. And when I would do Ironmans, I would do really well in the run portion, finishing the race by walking every aid station. So I do 1 mile, walk through the aid station, run. So it's same thing. So I would pass people again. So I think there's something to walking is less stressful in your body and you can go longer. But I think people need to make sure, don't try to do cardio like that every day. Get out movement throughout the day,
Yeah.
but doing your endurance workouts 3 days a week or something instead of trying to do 2-3 times a day is going to give you more stress, and switching that to doing more strength 3 times a week. Yin yoga at night, I like to do a couple nights a week, and restorative yoga
Yeah.
and add that into it. In my
Yep.
rest day, Monday, typically, we do a little power 30-minute yoga class and then go for a walk. So I think you're not sitting around not doing anything. You want movement and get up every hour, but not the chronic cardio stuff.
Exactly. I mean, just the cardio kings and queens that you see at the gym, just think about it. Have their bodies changed at all in the last year?
Yeah.
They look the same.
I say that all the time. You go to the gym and the treadmills and the bikes are behind us, and the weight section here, we're doing all this squat thrusters and lunges and curls. And then I'm like, okay, look at them. They look like the same shape. I've seen them for, 20 years. And then here's all the ripped people over this side of the room. Like, do you need a research study done on this to see what's going on? Just observation. Check it out.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
anyways, it's funny. Okay, so let's put all your links in the show notes. How can people learn more about you? And it's Amie, the AMIE. Is that how you were born, your name you were given at birth, or did you change that as your stage name?
I'm an Amelia. But when you're 10, you think Amelia is an old name. So
that's a great name. I never hear
Amie,
anyone.
and then it stuck. Yeah.
All right. So
yeah, Dr. Amie Hornaman. It'll be in your show notes. Dr. Amie Hornaman is my website. So on there, if you're interested in finding out how we can work together, you can book a discovery call. That's free. That just lets me, there's a little application in the beginning just to make sure that we're the right fit, because I want people that are, determined. They want to get better. They are ready to get better. They are ready to get rid of the frustration. So you can fill that out and then jump on a discovery call and we can go from there. And then there's my podcast that you're on as well. The Thyroid Fixer podcast. So you can find that on all podcast platforms.
Good for you. How are you managing your stress? We're talking about how, all these other practitioners are doing so much, and we, try to find that balance. And how do you kind of try to keep yourself from doing too much and breaking down, burning out?
I block out though. I block out my morning I walk my dog. He plays with his little buddy next door. They run around together for like half an hour. And then I block out time to work out. Like that is you will not cut into that time at all unless it's an emergency or I have to, go to a doctor's appointment or whatever. But that is my blocked out time. And then I start work. So I think just keeping that, work sometimes can go into family time, into the evening. I try to block out the weekends to spend with family. I mean, as you know, the whole juggle, sometimes it gets out of control and then sometimes you bring it back into balance. So, but the biggest thing for me is blocking out those hours in the morning. Those are mine. That is it. Yeah.
Yeah. I did it so long. I'm just so like morning, night, I'm not available. Weekends, not available. I'll check emails because I have some VIP clients I work with 7 days a week, but I just can't do anymore. I did it for so many years. Like after 6 o'clock, sorry, I'm plugging, I'm turning everything in airplane mode. I'm going to bed early. Weekends, Friday, done, 5 o'clock, I'm out. So I used to do that, 5 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night and then check emails again. I can't do it. I just damage myself so much, and I don't have any drive to do it either. Like I'm happy and having fun having this right balance.
Well, and your clients, patients, I mean, they have to see, even though like deep inside, they're like, I want to talk to Debbie and it's 8 o'clock. But if you do that, you are going to not be the best for them. Yeah. So you're going to get worn down. What you're going to give to them will be less than your best. So if you take that time, like you're saying you do, you're going to be on your game and you're going to be able to help them in those hours that you set at 100% effort. Instead of I'm tired, I'm drained, I was on my phone till 10 o'clock at night. Now I can't think. Nobody wants that. So this is your parameters are benefiting your clients too.
Yeah, so true. I know. You want Debbie to be healthy and happy. as
we do.
you. So
Yes, we do.
awesome talking to you. So good to talk thyroid and all things thyroid. And, I think people should look at the show notes. We'll put all the information in there, how to reach out to you. And I think there's so much more to learn. And people are struggling to feel their best and live their best life. I think that's something to look at. Another clue, get that full thyroid panel, not just your regular TSH from your doctor, and you have to ask for that full thyroid panel because they just do the minimalist labs with your doctor. So ask and you shall receive, or ask again until you receive it.
Absolutely. Exactly.
All right. Thanks, Amie.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Low Carb Athlete Podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions, let us know on Facebook or at debbiepotts.net. You can help us to continue to grow by leaving a review on iTunes. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.